Welcome back to the United Stand. Hit the like button. Make sure you are subscribing. Loads to talk about tonight on the show as United enter the race to sign a new striker. This probably isn't breaking news to you. It certainly isn't to me, but they have been named as Wharton, Baleba and Anderson. I think a little recency bias is definitely creeping into this. When will these deals happen? We're going to be discussing that tonight live on the United Stand. Plus, we're talking about how important the next two games are. How key are the wins in the next two matches for Manchester United? And I know, listen, we'll get into it later. There's the cliche of all games are important, all games matter, all wins are needed. But I do feel these two hold real significance in terms of us progressing, moving forward. I really think there is a fundamental need for us to win those next two games. We're going to be going through all of that and much, much more. Let me know where you're tuning in from as well, around the world. It's always nice to know where you're watching from, what part of the UK or what part of the world. Don't just say the country, though. Say the city and the country as well, so we all know where you are at. We'll also keep you up to date if you are interested in the League Cup games, as there's lots of them being played at the same time as well. Not that we can relate to that this season. This here from Rohan says, who's this mug? Ha ha ha. Terry, good to see you again, mate. Good to see you too, my friend. Good to see you too. So look, let's jump into the story that has come out and let's read it. This is from Mike McGrath. Mike McGrath says, Justin, Manchester United are ready to lead the way next summer in a race for a new number 6 midfielder. For a number 6 Sorry, I'm going to reread that again because I have butchered it. I've killed it. Okay, I'm like Bernard Matthews with a turkey. But it says Manchester United are ready to lead the way next summer in the race for number 6 midfielders, with the key position expected to dominate the transfer market. Adam Wharton, Baleba, and Elliot Anderson amongst the deep line midfielders likely to be high on demand next summer. Now, I think it's very clear. I think it's very obvious. I think you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that United's absolute key focus is going to be a midfielder. Now, they went for the approach in the summer of bolster the attack, score more goals. I still believe there was no one solution that would have fixed everything squad-wise, appeased everybody, that would have had every single area of the team purring. There'd be holes that would be criticised. So I'm not someone that is overly fixated on the fact that not every problem was fixed. I think we could have fixed part of the problem in every department. We could have got a goalie, a centre-back or full-back, a midfielder, a 10, a striker, potentially. But there would still be holes. All it takes is a couple of injuries and there'd be problems and we'd be back to moaning as a fan base again. So I'm not necessarily against the approach that we took, but I would have liked a midfield player, and I understand the absolute key need to improve the midfield. Okay, it is massive. We did make an attempt and went for Baleba. We didn't get it done. I can only speak for myself here, but I was hugely frustrated, in fact, with the fact that we obviously were ready to pay some type of fee for Baleba. There's some reports say only as much as 60 million. Some say 100. But either way, that's a significant amount of money. And my question then was, well, why didn't we buy somebody else? I've long since been an advocate that you should only really buy your top targets. And especially when you're building a squad, it's important not to... I think it's really, really important from that point to not get too fixated on bodies and numbers and buying the right type of player. Liverpool famously did this when FSG were building their squad, and you saw it in those years where they were adding in the top class players they wanted. I mean, imagine they didn't wait for Van Dijk. Imagine they pivoted away and went elsewhere. It would have been disastrous for them. But I think for me, I look at the names on this list and you see Wharton, you see Baleba, you see Anderson. Now, I said at the top, I think Elliot Anderson, there could be an element of recency bias in this. And what I mean by that is, in the England squad, looked very, very good. Will he be a name? Will he be a player everybody wants in 6 months, in a year's time? time will tell. Baleba and Wharton have been high on people's shopping list for a long time now, though. And Anderson may sit there as well. My personal view is I'd like to see us again in the summer do similar to what we did this summer just gone, which is actually try to fix an entire department. I would like for us to go out, and it doesn't necessarily need to be these players. We have a poll running right now, actually, which currently has Baleba at the top of the list, followed by Wharton. But I'd like us to go out and get, I would like us to go out and get a couple of those players. Go out and get, because Wharton and Baleba are not the same type of football player. And I think we need to try and do what we've done with our attack. Go out and just get 2 midfielders. Let's see what happens. We know Casemiro is going to be leaving. Bruno might go as well. So that's 2 holes straight away. But maybe we look at it and go, let's get Wharton. Let's get Baleba. Let's get Hackney. And I'm throwing those names out there because you know who they are. But a variation of that. Quality on the ball. Great players in terms of progressing the ball with passing and with running. Far more athleticism. So I'm not surprised to see these stories. I think we're going to get a lot more of them as well. Let's go to some of your comments here. Connor with a super chat says, been gobsmacked all week as someone who has been vocally Amorim out. We tactically destroyed Maresca even before the red card. Might be a turning point. Look, I mean, it could be. It could be. And we'll get onto this more later. But I've said this for many weeks and months now. We could win 2-3-4 on the bounce. My feet are staying on the floor. We could lose 2-3-4 on the bounce. I definitely will have a meltdown, right? Because I'm a human being. I've got emotions. But once I calm down, I'm still not throwing baby out with the bathwater. And what I mean by that is, yes, we had the debate the other day about fixing. Do you remember we did the show about fixing the club on Friday? My point of view and perspective is this. I don't think some wins is going to fix us. I don't think a good summer of midfielders coming in fixes Manchester United. What I would like to see is progression. I would like us to become a harder team to beat, a team that wins more games, a team that's more competitive in matches, and a team that is competent on a field of play. And with a 20 to 25% win ratio, you're just not bloody competent. Not at the Premier League level with the salary that we pay players and the amount of money we spend. It is ridiculous. So I think whatever we look at here, whatever direction we're looking from, whether that be the transfer market, and by the way, I don't really want us to wait until the summer if we can, if we don't have to. You know, maybe revisit Brighton and Baleba again. Maybe look at Hayden Hackney as an option again. I don't think we should be waiting, if we can help it, until the summer. Now, don't buy 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th choice players in January and waste money. But I think we've got to look to improve for Ruben or whoever the new manager is. And this is why I want Man United fans to get this into their mind. As a club, it's been well documented that we're not buying players that are specifically for the 3-4-3 or 3-4-2-1 formation. There is a lot more to their game than that. We're looking at midfielders, for instance, that can play in a 2, but can also play in a 3. We're looking at fullbacks that can play wing-back, but can play fullback as well. And I think it's really, really important. We haven't even started buying centre-backs recently. And I don't necessarily think that... we bought Heaven and Yoro, actually, in the last year. And they're not players that are specific to a 3 at the back. So I think we need to be very mindful of that. I want the squad to keep being built out, bolstered out with better, high-quality, athletic players, irrespective of who the manager is. And I don't want that to not happen just because people are worried that Amorim's getting more money. The club needs to improve this squad. The better the squad, the easier it is for the next manager to try and get better results at the end of the day. Imagine passing up on the... You've got to think about this logically, right? And some people don't want Amorim to get more money because they don't like Amorim. But imagine we pass up on Baleba in January just for Liverpool to sign him in the summer. But the reason we passed up on him is because Ineos said, yeah, the fans are right, really. We shouldn't give Amorim the chance with this player. It's just nonsensical at every single level. Dylan here says, reckon I've got a chance with Beth. Look, I can't speak for Beth. That would be wrong on every single level. But most likely not. I would say there's more chance of Mo Salah signing for Manchester United. That's as much as I'll say. Stop putting Wharton in the thumbnail. You ain't getting him. It's already been reported Palace aren't interested in selling to anybody. Everyone's for sale. Every football player is for sale. They're for sale. And Wharton will be interested in Manchester United. The one thing I won't be dragged back into this summer, I can't speak for all the other presenters here on the United Stand and other channels, but one thing I won't be dragged into is why would somebody pick Man United? I can't get into that again. I can't get into those kind of conversations ever again. I can't, because we were told we weren't getting anybody of any real note. I remember doing the stream here live on the United Stand when the news broke about Mbumo, and we were talking about, just before it broke, we were talking about how on my channel, the Football Terrace, all the rivals were saying no chance we're getting Mbumo, and then it happened. So yeah, and it isn't as though we're paying crazy wages anymore either, so we're just not getting into that. Mate, why are you falling for this summer transfer rubbish? There's a January window that we should be looking at to buy midfielders. You must be behind, bruv. Maybe your stream's buffering, maybe your internet's slow, because I just addressed that, my friend. Some of the work will go towards the summer, but I would like us to try and make a move. Do I think we'll get 2 of our number 1 choice midfield players in a January window? Unlikely. But let's see where Crystal Palace are. Let's see where Middlesbrough, say Middlesbrough are top of the league and fighting for their title, probably not going to let him go unless it's silly money. If Brighton are in fighting for a Champions League or Europa League place and he's killing it, they're probably not going to entertain it. But should Brighton be sitting 10th or 11th and fairly comfortable, they might. Should Palace be out of Europe by then, and because they have a bad Europa campaign, and Wharton is thinking about leaving, you never know. So we definitely should be looking. We shouldn't just be ignoring it. But to the point there, that don't fall for the summer transfer nonsense. It isn't nonsense. Let's just say we have a shortlist, and our top, we want 2 midfielders, and we've got and our top 6 are, and I'm going to make some of these names up. Our top 6 are Baleba, Wharton, Elliot Anderson, Edison, Hayden Hackney. Who else is and Benton Kerr. Just throwing a name out there for the sake of it. Don't get married to the name. If none of them are attainable, either they're all being overpriced and we shouldn't be overpaying, by and large. A couple of £1 million, fair enough, but 20 and 30s, no. If they're not available, or if they say, listen, United, we'd love to join, would love to come in the summer, but we're fighting for a title or a trophy or European position, and I want to help the club that I'm at, I want to pay homage to the investment they've put into me, then I would rather wait to the summer to buy those players than go for somebody that's 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th on our list. That's my view. That's my logic. Luke here says, who's this guy? I'm Terry Flewers from the Football Terrace. I know you know me, but if you don't, I'm here tonight. Hit the like button, sit back and enjoy. Sit back and enjoy. Jason here says, but Terry, us as fans need to stop being so impatient. We want and expect super pressing, battling, attacking talent players that gel overnight and have automatic high chemistry without all... listen, look, there is an element of patience, but I think this is where there needs to be a nuanced conversation, and it does need to be nuanced. So it all depends on what you're expecting patience for. And we don't have that conversation enough. So I was called out for saying it's going to take 3 to 4 years from this point to fix Man United. And some people view us being fixed as just playing really good football. Something that can be done in months with the right system and the right coach. So then it's about trying to find common ground and commonality and maybe trying to come to a consensus where that's what we push towards the club rather than these mixed messages. So I do think that even this squad, I think, is pretty average. I think a good coach should be able to get us to a 50% win ratio, maybe even 55%, where we're competent, where we win at least half our games, where we're progressing and moving forward. On top of that, though, I still think this squad needs a lot more signings until we could reach that level where people are, you've got to find out when people say, no, I think we're fixed when we're really competent and we're able to be dangerous in games and win a lot of football matches. That's okay as a view, but you need to then break down what does that look like? It's great how it sounds, but when you say competent at playing football, how many wins out of 10 are you getting? What's the sort of goals scored to goals conceded looking like? Where do you expect a team like that to be in the league? Then you've got to look at, well, look who's in the league. Do you really think we've got a better squad than X? Do you really think we've got a better squad than Y? Do you really think a manager like Areola, as an example, or a De Zerbi or a Xavi, names that have been mentioned, do you think they're good enough to get there? It's about having the confidence, not trying to catch people out, not trying to make people look silly, but have these conversations. Because I think what we get wrong as a fan base is I do believe we have influence over the club's decisions if we push hard enough in the right directions. But I also look at it as it's also polarized, basic, and very black and white, when there's no nuance in these conversations, and I think there needs to be. So yes, we need to stop with this. We're Man United, but we're Man United. Yeah, we know we are, but in the short term, I think what we need to do is aim at progressing and getting better. And I think what we should be able to do as fans is celebrate the step change while still pushing towards the ultimate goal. You know, think about it as you're losing weight. I'm 16 and a half stone. I want to get to 13 stone. I don't think that I should beat myself up every 2 weeks when I weigh myself because I'm not 13 stone yet. If I'm losing weight. Oh, great. I lost 3 pounds. Oh, I lost 2 pounds. Oh, I lost 4. I lost 3. Wow, I lost 5. I only lost 2. I only lost 2. I only lost 2. Oh, look at that. I lost 6 this week. I'm just throwing it out there. I think you should be able to celebrate or be proud or recognize progression until you get to your end result. What I don't understand is why that has gone from the game. So that bit I completely agree with you on 110%. Let's look here. There's some more of your comments. 50% win rate. I wasn't sure. I want some of what you're drinking. Premier League harder than that. I'm talking all competitions, but this is when again. See, this is about doing your own research. I'm going to show you something. When you say, so your comment there, my friend, that is from Peter Nelson, thinks I'm crazy to ask for a 50% win ratio from a Man United manager. This is why I'm telling you, from where we are to 50%, we're not talking about craziness here. So, I'm going to read this out to you. Ten Hag's win percentage was 54%. Ralph Ragnick's was 37%. Wasn't good enough. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, 54%. Jose Mourinho, 59%. Van Gaal, 52%. David Moyes, 52%. By the way, Fergie's, over a much longer period of time, 59%. Where the real progression it's when you get to around 50%. It's getting from 50% up to that 60 to 65% mark. Now, you'll never maintain 60, 65% for 25 years, not when your first 5, 6, 7 years was building the club. You know, I'd love to see what Sir Alex Ferguson's win percentage was from the first Premier League season onwards. But that's another debate for another day. So when you say it's crazy to ask for 50%, it isn't. I think it's a solid number. I think it's a solid number with what we spend on our squad, the salary that we're paid, and previous managers have got there. What we haven't been able to do, because I think a lot of it is this whole, we're just Man United, get it done now. We ignore root cause problems. We ignore the issues that are in the way that stop us from going to that next level. Then it's about, okay, now how do we start improving by inches? How do we start improving by percentages each year over the next two to three? How do we go from being a team that's going to finish in the top 6 to a team that can push for top 4 or finish in the top 4 comfortably? That could be 2 or 3 new players plus the culture getting better. Do you get where I'm coming? And then it's just about, then it might be a case of, listen, speaking to the manager, whoever it is, and saying, I think you need to adjust your system slightly to this, because we seem to have some games where we struggle here, and that's what your sporting director should be doing, looking at the data, looking at the games back, and just it's nitpicking when you get to that stage. Right now, I agree with people that just want to play good football in the sense of, we're not at a stage to nitpick and say, but we're Man United, we've got to be that bit better, we've got to be winning titles. That's got to be the end goal. But we can't skip out everything that's in between. You know, I just find it, you get those parents who want their kids to be doctors, lawyers, pilots. The ones who fail, the ones who lose their children along the way are often the parents who don't appreciate how long it takes and all the hard work that goes into it. And it's almost like every day when they're not what they want them to be, they're angry at them and don't like them. They often lose their kids along the way. The kids stop wanting to do it. They move on. They fall out. It's about understanding what it takes to get there, and we shouldn't ignore that as a football club. But that being said, last bit I'll say on this is that what we can't become fixated on is the fact that we can't ever change a coach or a head coach, no matter how bad the winning percentage is, because it's going to take 3 to 4 years to get us back to the top. The coach is a agile element. As long as we're buying the profiles and the start and types of players the club needs and wants, not the manager, you can change. You don't want to change all the time. You do want to try and create a consistency of coaching voice. But the point is, if there's a possibility we could be at that 50% win ratio, but the coach is stopping us, you change it. But you keep everything else moving in the same direction. Why do I believe this? Whether you're looking at small clubs that have grown, or if you're looking at the way big clubs now operate, it's how Brentford, how Bournemouth, how Brighton operate. It's how Dortmund, it's how Ajax, it's how Bayern Munich, it's how Liverpool, it's how Man City. It's how they all, typically speaking, operate. So I'm not asking for the wheel to be reinvented. I'm asking for us to follow the actions of success. The same as you would. We're talking about weight training and losing weight. There's tried and tested ways, whether you look at the body, there's bodybuilders that can show you how to get bigger. There's fitness experts and dietitians that can show you how to lose weight. You follow the tried and tested methods. You don't just sit there and go, right, I'm going to make up a brand new method myself. No idea whether it works or not. It'd be a crazy thing to do. Let's have a little look here. All three I want at United, and we'll sell Ugarte to get rid of Casemiro and sell Bruno. Look, all three. I'm not saying it'll be those three, but there is definitely the possibility of Manchester United having a summer where there are 2 to 3 midfield players that come in. There is always that possibility, because I think 2 are gone. I think we know Cass will go. We're not renewing Cass's contract. And I think Bruno Fernandes might go at the end of the season. And I would understand why if he wanted to go. He's given us a lot. He may want to go on and do something. He may want to go on and do something new and do something different. And fair play to him. I wouldn't be against that if he wanted to. Do you guys know our XG per shot is 0.17 and Liverpool's is 0.10? We are taking better shots and still scoring less. They are scoring more with less efficient chances, and the bad decision making. No XG. That, look, at the end of the day, XG tells you a part of the story, and defensively though we are conceding more XG than they are. But listen, I'm not trying to blow smoke up my own backside. The people that have watched me here on the United Stand or watched my channel, The Football Terrace, I've been talking about the amount of touches we've had in our opponent's box, the amount of opportunities, the amount of shots. And I got into a big fight with somebody on Twitter yesterday, and I couldn't help myself. And I'm going to read you through this, and I'd love to get your take on this. 1 second. Someone said I'm suspended from X. I'm not. I'm literally on it. I have no idea. My main Football Terrace account did. It got hacked, and then they posted some weird stuff. But I'm going to find you these tweets, because this is what I call manipulation of statistics, right? So, Sky Sports tweeted out. Sorry, no, I didn't. TNT Sports tweeted out, Man United lead the Premier League for the following stats this season. Most shots, most chances created, most expected goals. On top of that, we're only 2 touches behind. We're in third for most touches in the opponent's box, and we're 2 touches off top, okay? And by the way, we've played Chelsea, we've played City and Arsenal. We've had the second hardest start to the Premier League all year. It got quote tweeted by a gentleman, and the quote tweet said, we're top for XG, goes, but 57.5% of that actually comes from open play. And I'm sitting there and thinking to myself, right, that's because we've won penalties. There's 2 penalties that make up a big part of that, but we won the penalties. Especially the penalty that, you win a penalty, you don't take that away from a team. You've put a side under pressure, you've made them give away a penalty. Whether it's wrestling us to the ground in the penalty box, whether it's pulling a shirt as we're running through on goal, you can't minus the XG because it's a penalty. You won the penalty. You rarely win a penalty by not putting an opponent under pressure. He says, of the open play, more or less 40% of that came against Burnley. So again, it's a great point. about 35% of it did come the open play stuff came against Burnley. But Burnley are the worst team we've played, so you would expect that. But that's the same for all the other teams. Generally speaking, the worse the team you play, the more XG the big teams get against them. So Liverpool got far less XG against Arsenal and Newcastle compared to when they played Burnley themselves. Right, so theirs is up there because of that too. He said 25% against Man City after being 3-0 down, and 11% against the mighty 10 men of Chelsea in the first half last game. So again, it's ignoring why they were down to 10 men, because we were obliterating them in the opening 5 minutes. They got a man sent off. We scored 2 goals. The only reason we didn't get even more after that point, actually, is because Casemiro got himself sent off stupidly. Yes, a lot of our XG against City came after they went 3-0 down. But City fans were panicking about that. They didn't like it. It's because we were cutting through them. Look how Arsenal couldn't cut through them in that second half when they sat back. And anyway, I turned around to the guy and said, I said, we are also top for touches in the opponent's box and in the top 3 for XG after the first 2 games as well. So a lot of where he rips us, like, sort of pushes back, is after the first 2 games. He says small sample size. So now it's a small sample size, but my 2 games is a small sample size. His 3 games is massive, right? But then goes on and gives an even bigger list where he's talking about how 25 of our 26 touches versus Arsenal came when we were 1-0 down. Once they sat back in their block. So you're confirming we penetrated them into their own box and should have done better. Okay. So it's 25 touches compared to Fulham's 38. Yeah, Fulham had a really good second half, and that's an area of criticism for us, being too easy to get through. But if our touches in the opponent's box don't count because we were 1-0 down, Fulham's can't count because they were 1-0 down. Right? It says dominant first half versus Burnley. Everything else he breaks down. To which I went back and I just wrote a message back and I just said, game state. And he went, of course. And that's the whole reason why those stats are currently misleading. And I went back and said, so just so I understand you would only consider the numbers good if they came when United were drawing or winning in the game and not how we react, respond, or adapt to a game. He come back to the whole point is you shouldn't read into numbers as much because of the small sample size and context, game state, opposition, etc. And I went back and I literally said to him, but that's what happened. It's not about misreading the stats. The games went the way they went. Bayern Dare threw the ball into the back of his own net as an example. We responded to it well and we should have scored. Yes, there's an argument to Terry, well, what if you didn't go 1-0 down? Would you have been the better team? I don't know what I don't know. We can't answer. The one thing nobody knows, and we can only surmise, is how good would we have been if Arsenal didn't score from the corner? If City didn't score 2-3 goals, would we have had those chances in the second half against them? I mean, the irony is, right, if they hadn't have scored the 3 goals, we'd have drawn the game and got a point. If Arsenal hadn't have scored their goal, it would have been 0-0. Or maybe not. Maybe Arsenal would have got better. Maybe City would have attacked more. Maybe if they attacked more, rather than playing on the counter, maybe we catch them on the counter. The point is, you can create 101 different scenarios in a hypothetical. But what we know is this is what happened. And just because you're losing when you create chances doesn't stop them from being real chances. Not on any level does it stop them from being real opportunities. And speak to any City fan worth his or her salt. When Mbeumo's volley was saved by Donnarumma, most of them have said, on socials, had that gone in, the game could have gone in any direction, even though up until that point, United hadn't played very well. Games can change quickly. At the end of the day, statistically this season, United have been very good in certain areas and not great in others. We are still conceding too many opportunities. Our conversion rate is absolutely horrendous. And that is the biggest reason that we've underperformed against their XG, underperformed against the chances that we've had in games. And I still think we should have scored against Arsenal. I think we should have beaten Fulham. We should have been 3-0 up at half-time against Fulham, or at least 2-0. Bruno should be scoring a penalty, and Cunha's got to score one of his 2 chances. You could conceivably have at least 2 more points from those games, if not 4. Burnley game we won, the Chelsea game we won. We could have 2 to 4 more points. If we were suddenly sitting here on 9 points, or sitting here on 11 points, I mean, we're on 11 points, would be second in the league. But the statistics would have been exactly the same. And this is why you can't just go with stats. You can't just go with the eye test, because your eyes sometimes lie to you. We all know we judge a player differently if we like them or dislike them. And you can't just look at the league table in itself. Now, yes, some people say the league table never lies. No, it doesn't. It tells you who got the results. It tells you who the best was at getting the results over the line. But it doesn't tell you every facet of the game. And every single football club in the country uses XG against them for. They look at the conversion rate. They look at these numbers. They study them. They view the footage. And then they work with their players to try and make them better. Why would we as fans ignore what the clubs use to assess football? Why would we look at it from a different lens to how football looks at itself? It's crazy to me. XG can indicate creativity, but poor final balls and finishing. But that's Lawrence Berry. You make a great point. XG only counts when there's a shot. So I'll give you an example. This is why you can't just look at XG as well, though, and I agree. Let's say we're playing Brentford at the weekend. Ball gets squared to Mbumo. Controls the ball. He's a yard out. But I'll give you an even better example. Dorgu's opportunity against Chelsea, because he didn't get his shot off, because Reece James nicked the ball off his foot, there's no XG because there's no shot. Chance creation. At the weekend, Mbumo twines up a man, puts him on his bum, puts the ball across the 6-yard box. No one's there to tap it in. You and I as football fans would say that was a chance to score. Why did nobody make the run? The statistics show that it wasn't a chance because there was no shot. So statistics tell apart and your eyes tell apart, and it's important to look at this. And you can apply that in both directions. But I think it's not worth ignoring these things. Man United have worked the ball into the opponent's box very, very well this year. One of the biggest things that's let us down is these players haven't been clinical enough. And that needs to improve, in my personal and in my humble opinion. Let's do some more. Thank you very much, by the way, to It's Me for gifting out a membership here this evening. It's very, very, very kind of you indeed. Let's have a little look at some more. Let me take a little quick drink here. Michael says, in January, somehow, they should go for Guehi, Baleba, and Ruben Neves. I don't know if they'd join us. I don't know if. So Baleba might. Baleba would. Ruben Neves probably would. I don't know if Guehi would join us, to be honest with you. Terry, that applies to every team, doesn't it? Very dumb argument. Well, the logic applies to every team, but not every team is creating the same amount of chances, conceding the same amount of shots. Not every team is conceding the same dangerous situations and scenarios. That just isn't happening. So, Aston Villa have a very low conversion rate of chances, but they have a very low creation rate of chances too. So Villa's problem isn't that they're not scoring enough goal chances they're creating. Their issue is they're not creating enough chances. The ones they are creating, they're not scoring. So I'm sorry to say this to you, my friend, because I don't want to be rude, especially if it isn't my platform. But no, I mean, the logic's the same for every club, but not every club's doing the same thing on the pitch. So therefore, the judgment is different. You know, you and me both have to abide the same law. But if you're breaking the law and I'm not, we're not going to both get sent to prison. Terry, the crazy thing is that Ahmad's bad decision-making, that Bruno's bad decision-making, that can lead to a tap-in doesn't even count as XG. Damn, we could have had more XG. But it's not about wanting more XG. It's about wanting more goals. But both of these things we should be assessing. Both of those things for me are not down to the system, is more important. The system has got its problems and should be criticised. But Bruno not feeding in Ahmad against Chelsea and Ahmad not cutting the ball back for Šeško, that's player mistakes. It's the players that should be ridiculed in that situation. So that's us not achieving better chance creation and on top probably more goals, because you would expect. But had those passes been played correctly and we missed those chances, then we know in those moments exactly, and the coaches would know exactly what you criticise. Both Bruno and Ahmad would have been criticised this week by the coaches for not playing the right pass. Had they played the right pass and we missed the chances, then it would have been the guy taking the shot that would have received the criticism. And that's what happens. That's sport. But as fans, what we have a habit of doing is ignoring what suits our own agenda. And I think that's wrong. Terry, that comment was for the guy who had a fight with you on X, not for the... Oh, okay. My apologies, my friend. Sorry, I misunderstood that. That's on me. I apologise. But yes, it's exactly the same for... That's why when he's under... But again, he's a Man United fan. Sorry, my neck's really crooked today. He's underplaying Man United stats because he wants Ruben gone. So what he's not doesn't want to see is statistics or facts put out there that make Ruben look better or give him a defensive platform for fans to work on for him. So it's being shut down. The problem is, as you say, I remember years ago, I love this story. I was on a podcast and there was an Arsenal fan and he made this amazing table. I don't know how many days, how many weeks, how many months. This is before people were using AI as well. And it showed a table that showed the last 38 games, a bit of the previous season, a bit of the current season. The last 38 games, and he picked 38 games because he wanted to represent a full season. And it showed Arsenal when they had only 2 or less injuries to their first 11. And it showed that when they have 2 or less injuries to their first 11 and play games, they were, I think at the time, second in the league, 1 point off top. And his argument was, when Arsenal's squad's fit, it's one of the best in the league. At this time in the league, they were coming like 5th, 6th. I said, okay, so what is your point beyond that? He said, well, biggest thing is the system works. We need better players in that system. Well, okay, makes sense. And then I had this thought. I said, there's one issue with your experiment. What's that? Have you applied the logic of 2 players or less missing to all the other teams? He's like, I don't understand. I said, well, the games where you've played, the 38 games you've found where you've had 2 or less injuries to your main players, how many players were missing from those teams from their first 11? Because if you're not counting defeats where Arsenal have got 3 or more players injured, how can you count wins against, I don't know, Brighton, Man United, Liverpool, Blackburn? Blackburn probably went in the league, but you get my point. If they had 3 or more injuries, it didn't have an answer because, again, it was flawed. When you same as that, what you've just said there, that analysis that you've just put together, that guy that tweet put together is, well, what percentage of Liverpool's came against Burnley? What percentage of Chelsea's has come against... Chelsea statistically have had the second easiest start to the league. They went away to West Ham, who are awful at the minute, as an example. How much of theirs came against those teams? And you'll find it's very similar. Where I do agree with us being number 1 in XG is some teams have had harder start. Well, Man United had the second hardest start in the league, but other people have had hard starts as well. And then when they go for a period of easier games, you'll probably see their XG rise and others drop off. That's why you don't get a true sample size typically to your 10 to 15 games into a season. But we actually played a really good mixture of teams. We've played a relegation team. We've played a 2 title contenders, a relegation team, a very good mid-table side in Fulham, and a top 4 team in Chelsea. That's a really good sample size for us. So there we go. Some home, some away as well. So, yeah, really good mixture. On this weekend, though, I want to move on. By the way, hit the like button if you've not done so already. What are you guys thinking of... What do you think about the games coming up? And I want to frame this. I want to frame it in a specific region. How important is it to win the next 2 games? And, of course, that starts with Brentford. How important is that victory? And on top of that, how do you think winning the next 2 matches impacts Manchester United? What do you think winning does? What does it do in regards to the mood of the fans, the confidence of the players, the manager's future? How big and how significant would it be to win 2 games on the bounce if we beat Brentford, and maybe, then with a great chance at home against Sunderland to make it 3 wins on the bounce, which we haven't won 2 on the bounce for well over it until 2 seasons ago. I don't remember when we last won 3 Premier League games on the bounce. In fact, I'm going to go on to the AI thing on X. Let's do it. When was the last time Man United won 3 Premier League games in a row? Let's go and see when that was. Let's have a little look here because it's important. United last won 2 Premier League games in a row in February 2024 when we beat... No, I want 3. Is that true? We haven't won 2 in a row since February 2024. No. Is that true? Oh, my God. That is crazy. It's searching now. It's having a little look now. Some of you probably already know this stat. I'm only using whatever the AI on X is called. Here we go. So based on United's recent Premier League results, the last time they won 3 in a row, it was February 2024 as part of a 4-game winning streak under Ten Hag, where we beat Wolves 4-2. We beat Wolves 4-3. We then beat West Ham 3-0, Villa 2-1, and Luton 2-1. Okay, so it wasn't that long ago. Well, it was actually. So the last time we won 2 in a row, 3 in a row, and 4 in a row was actually the same run of games. Fair enough, that makes sense. But that was still 18 months, 19 months ago. It's a very, very, very long time. And that's only according to AI. I've not gone and clarified that. So I want to know what you think. How important are these wins? If we can get them. Let me rephrase that because I don't want to get ahead of myself. How important would these wins be? How significant? How important? I really would love to have your thoughts and your opinions on that. I really, really would. I really, really would love to understand you on that. Terry, Amorim outers will never stop, and we need 6 desperate points, and will be a big morale boost for our players and manager. Look, Amorim outers won't change now. Amorim outers will only change if there is, we go on a, 20-game unbeaten run, challenge for the league, something along those. It would take something crazy for a lot of them to change. But it's massive for me. I'm so excited about this game, but nervous because I feel that whenever we get a good result, what we haven't been able to do, and this squad, a lot of this squad have been here for the vast majority of this, they've never been able to get onto a good run. They've never been able to. Sometimes it's their fault. Sometimes it's management. Sometimes it's just who you play next. Okay, we won a game now. Who we got next? Oh, we're away against Liverpool. Like going away to City after beating Burnley, such a hard game because even when we're at our best, you don't always win that match. Going away for a derby game. So I just think for me, if we're able to win against Burnley, if we beat Brentford, I think we beat Sunderland. I think it becomes a little bit of a domino effect because I think to get the first away win of the season, to get 2 wins on the bounce, I think to get that under, that win, a win like that under our belt, I think the crowd, and by the way, the new 6,000 additional people will be in the stadium for the Sunderland game, and hopefully it's a sellout because that will push us past 82,000, which will make it already the biggest attendance in Premier League. Well, Spurs officially have the highest attendance in Premier League history because they used Wembley for a few years, but I think that's a Fugazi record. It weren't their ground. If Man United played all their home games in Wembley, even though we're a Manchester team, we'd sell 90,000 tickets every week. So it'll be even noisier with an extra 6,000 people or so in the stadium. But I think if we can beat Brentford, I think we win the game against Sunderland. And it's the confidence and the belief. And I sometimes don't think we as football fans understand or comprehend the importance of belief and confidence in the game. And I think if these players could get a shot of confidence, and even last year when we had those great European nights, we would often go straight back into the league and lose, and we could never really gain momentum. And I think confidence and belief in some wins would gain us some momentum. I wouldn't then want the international break to come. I'd want to keep playing. And the game after that, by the way, is Liverpool away. A very hard place for us to get points in the last decade. Our aggregate score in the last decade or so is abysmal. It's something along the lines of like 25-4 or something. We've been battered. To have some confidence, to have some belief to go into that game, a game that we actually played really well in last year, Who knows what could then happen? Pick up a draw away at Liverpool. Then you go into your next game. It's definitely every game after Liverpool away is easier. Go to that game, maybe pick up a win. Suddenly go, hang on, fucking hell. 4 wins in 5 games without defeat. That belief starts to build up. Now, I would never get carried away with what we could achieve. I think it would still be a very long, winding, and difficult road ahead for us. But I do feel that some wins, I think what it will also do, it will help calm the fans down a little bit. I don't think we help the club at times. And the players don't hear us during games if we're online, but they feel it afterwards. I don't know about you, when I was watching the game against Chelsea, that crowd was amazing at the start of the game. And then because we scored early, the red card, it was brilliant. There was just, I would have bet everything I owned on us winning that game at half time if it was 11v11. That red card, you heard those nerves whole second half. Come on, boys, we'll do it. 10 minutes into that second half, you could hear the anxiety because we barely win, home or away. We never win games in a row. We're very vulnerable when things go wrong for us. The amount of times we've had a man sent off in recent years, or had a goal disallowed, had a problem, and seconds later, minutes later, capitulated. All that anxiety builds up. To go to Brentford away and win, to then double down on that and win 3 on the bounce against Sunderland, it's a start on eradicating that lack of belief, of building that confidence. I cannot explain enough how fundamentally important I think that is for our progression. Even with that's one of the reasons why you've got to be very careful when a new coach comes in, because a new coach can come in and sometimes teams can get that new manager bounce, which is a shot of adrenaline that might maybe makes you feel more confident than you really are, like a bit of Dutch courage. You do well for a game or two, but then it can all come crumbling. It might be good for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4, but it will always come crumbling down again. We saw this under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He had that great new manager bounce. We lost a couple of games, and he could never recover that season. We were better the following year or two, but it takes a long time to build up. So I just think it's so massive. I think it's so important that we get that done and we get those wins over the line. Terry, I would love to see you rock a moustache if we win 3 in a row. Maybe I'll do it for you. Maybe. Terry, what will your stance be if we get the results at Anfield after winning the next 2 games? Well, my stance will... Listen, I said when we got beat by Grimsby, I said I've lost faith in Amorim. But I also said I've lost faith in the next manager. I've lost faith in the club, the players. I was broken after that defeat. I also stated later in the same stream the players in the club could make my mind change again by getting better. And I'm very open about that. I'm fickle when it comes to my own football club at times because I love them. And when you love something, the emotion... They always say the closest emotion in the world to love is hate. They're not too far separated. And that's how I feel sometimes. But my stance wouldn't overly change. I suppose my stance would be I'm now growing in confidence again, as opposed to having no faith. My trust would be building back up in this team's qualities, as an example. So from that point of view and perspective, it would be great. From that point of view and perspective, I'd love it. If we were to go then away to Anfield and pick up a win, for me, it would just be a case of, okay, I mean, where would we even be at that point? 3 wins on the bounce now, we wouldn't be top because Liverpool are going to win games. But we'd be in the top 4 most likely. And I suppose my view then would be, okay, guys, well, again, it would be, let's keep calm. But I would very much have a view of, let's keep building on that confidence. Let's keep growing as a team. But let's keep our feet on the ground and remain humble at the same time. Don't get carried away. Don't get complacent. It would be 4 wins on the bounce at that point, which is, we haven't done that in 18 months. And I would just be imploring the players to just keep working harder. That would be more my message. Of course, I'd enjoy the moments. Let's have a little look here at some of your comments here. It's having the formula for winning games. Not sure precisely what that is for now. I think that's a good idea. I mean, just the team believing it can win, I think it helps you. Does Cunha score one of his chances, as an example? Do we kill Burnley off in the first half? Does Casemiro panic and give away that second yellow? if we'd been winning more games at the beginning of this season and last year? If there was more belief in these players, they could win these games, would all those things have been improved? And I say that because I come from a fighting background. And I always remember one of the top Team GB coaches. A few of us, we were at the medal ceremony. We went to the pictures. So the night I won a bronze medal. And no, I didn't. That was when I won a silver medal. And we all went to get pictures. And we were quite young. I was about 14, 15. And one of the older coaches was there. And he sort of said, I'm so intrigued to watch you guys on the circuit again next year. I was like, why is that? He said, well, typically when people start winning medals at world championships, and he pointed to the gold medalists, especially you guys that win gold, he says typically what we start to see is your performances on the circuit improve. Like you win more tournaments, you get higher ranking points, you qualify easier for Team GB because the confidence you normally get from winning something at such a big tournament against the very best people in the world. So that all being said, I remember him saying that and feeling it and understanding it. And I only got a silver at that tournament, but I'd come second and third at the British Championships, which is the main way of qualifying for Team GB. If you won it, you automatically went to the World Championships. There are other times you could build up points for other tournaments. And I never quite won it. There was people that were better. But getting that medal at the Worlds, by the way, the other guys from Team GB that qualified for my section didn't even get in the top 6. So I beat the British champion at the Worlds. It just made me realise I can win. I can win. Now, the guys that were winning golds, they would talk about it all the time. And right down, I hear it in MMA all the time. Somebody wins a world title, and then you hear them talk about how much more belief they have in themselves. They know they can do it now. You often lose a little bit of the imposter syndrome. Can I really do this? Are we really good enough? Equally, when a team wins a league title or a Champions League, a big club that has money and finances, there's always a very, very good chance that they go on to win another one quite soon afterwards because they say, oh, we really can do this. We really can win. That's different from being a decent team and picking up a Carabao Cup. You're not on the edge, but teams that are right on the edge of winning, you just go through winning. It happens in so many sports. You'll watch people go through winning streaks. Andy Murray, he was a level below Djokovic, Federer, and Nadal. Had he only been up against one of them in his career, though, he might have won 4, 5, 6, 7 more Grand Slams. That being said, couldn't win one. Then when he won one, we won the gold medal in 2012. From 2012 to 2016, he became the best player in the world. After winning a major, he won the Olympics, then he won the Wimbledon, then I think he won the US Open, then he won Wimbledon again. And he was number one by 2016. The only thing that let him down is his hips. Had his hips not gone, he might have had 3 or 4 more years at the top and won more majors. But it was that first, it was the Olympics, and then he won, that helped him win the Wimbledon, and then he had like the best 3 years of his career. And all of that stemmed from the belief of winning that first big tournament. But that concept's the same when it comes to building yourself to that stage. You've got to learn how to win, be able to handle those pressures. And a lot of football fans always think football is about ability. It isn't. There's such an important component, which is belief, understanding. Do you know how exhausted you can feel when you don't believe in yourself? You ever been playing a computer game like FIFA at night? And you got your upper level and you can't win. You might have 2 or 3 games on the bounce where you're getting battered. You feel exhausted. I'm going to go to bed. You're winning games, playing well. You're buzzing. You're loving it. Yes, there's adrenaline that's being released, but you're enjoying what you're going through. It's all part and parcel of it, I feel. Best analogy, Cherry, would be Peter Wright in darts. See, I don't know who that is, so I can't give it, but I'll take your word for it, brother. I will take your word for it. Does our British count need to be taken into consideration? We're loaning Sancho and Rashford. I don't think there is a British count. I think it's homegrown, but I think we're fine. I think we're fine for homegrown players. Amorim responded to all the media pressure and reports of 3 games to avoid the sack by telling Sir Jim had offered him a new contract. It was a joke, but it was bold. Yeah, but those things can play a part. Those things can help make a team relax. They're all an interesting part of the game. The mental strength is very important in sport. Baleba is cracked under pressure of United being interested. Imagine the downfall when he puts on the shirt. But it may not be cracking under the pressure of the United attention. It may be he had his head completely turned 180 and he just doesn't want to be there anymore. It could also just be he's had a poor start to the season and will recover. It's why I did say to a lot of you, though, don't go thinking that Baleba coming in fixes every problem that we've got. It won't. He's still young. He's got a way to go. I was just watching the Forest game, and Anderson was magical. Are they playing in the Europa League, are they? Is that over? They're playing now? Oh, yeah, at half-time. I forgot they were playing tonight. So many games on tonight. So much football on tonight. But we can't relate. We can't relate. Someone's telling me there's Manchester United news. What's it saying? Hope it's good. Hope it's good news. Man United have reached an agreement in principle to sign, I can't pronounce that name, defensive midfielder Christian Orozco, 17. He will travel next year when he becomes of age. Yeah, it's like the third player we've bought in that kind of, fourth player we've bought in that kind of ilk. Fifth, I suppose, if you count, the fifth probably if you count Heaven. See, that type of stuff that we're doing as a club, I kind of like that. But I do want to see some of these youngsters that we're buying given an opportunity as well. Look, I want to thank you all very, very much for tuning in this evening. Do me a big favor if you would be so kind, and that's hit the like button. Please make sure you're subscribing to the channel. Obviously, back in the morning, 10 a.m. I think Mark is back tomorrow. But obviously, wish him all the best. I'm feeling well soon. But thank you all for being here. It means a great, great deal.